what you do at Ames, the people here?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Jon Welch. I've been an IT manager here at NASA Ames Research Center for about 15 years. NASA Ames is in Mountain View, California, which is about an hour's drive south of San Francisco on the middle of the California coast. And so we are right at the heart of Silicon Valley. And so it's a good place to talk with lots of interesting commercial and academic groups that are working on IT projects. And I've been very fortunate. I got started in this right when the World Wide Web was heating up. So I actually have a background in philosophy and in biology, and I'm kind of a self-taught IT person. So all of you have benefited a lot more academic training in IT than I do, but I've been lucky. And most of the work that I've done here has involved developing web applications on the AMP stack, and also doing a lot of system integration with various research groups here that need specialized systems for managing their data or collaborating with distant researchers and so on. So hopefully by now you have a new PDF on your stage wall. Jane, is that correct?
Okay.
Great. And that's my pointer there, so I'm going to maximize
Consegue passar a página?
this. Okay, great. Now, Jane, just because of the quality of the Skype video, I don't think I'll be able to see the little arrows with PDF. So I'll just ask you to go to the
second one.
And so on.
Okay, great.
Second page.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm going to start.
Great.
We'll start on the first page that says About Jon.
Yes. And then we have large display.
Great. So you see my picture there?
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay. It's a bad picture. Sorry. So that's a little background there. And anybody who wants a copy of that PDF is certainly welcome to take it and look through it later. So you have some notes there.
Of course.
Before I launch into all of this, Jane or Cicero, or any volunteers, could you tell me a little bit about the audience? What is their interest and their general background, so that I can tailor my coverage to that?
Well, they are PhD students at Mackenzie. We are in a program of a graduate program of education, art, and history of culture. In this program, we have different researchers, and we are involved in research about visualization and art. And they have different backgrounds because it is an interdisciplinary program. And they come from photography, cinema, arts, education, different backgrounds, and then they start a research on different issues, such as bio art, cinema in 3D, visualization in general, archives, digital archives, and so on. And we have a very a multi program, a plural interests here, but they are very interested. In knowing how NASA is working with the super high definition images, and they know they are aware of our Mars project, which involves also the post-production of the images from Mars. And that's it.
Great.
So that's wonderful. My background here has been what you would say a jack of all trades. So I have not specialized. I've covered a lot of different areas. So hopefully at some point in the future we'll get some more specialists here to talk with your groups. But for now I can give you a pretty good overview, and I'm very happy to talk to all of you. I haven't spent a lot of time in Brazil, but I did get to spend a month in Rio working with an associate a few years ago, and I also play a lot of football, so yay Brazil.
Great!
So let's go to the second slide.
Yeah, we have
should say large display options.
large displays. Yeah.
So about 2 years ago, I was asked by NASA headquarters to help catalog all of the different commercial and academic options for putting together large-scale displays for various project groups. So if you look in the uses catalog, those are the main uses that we were contemplating here at NASA. Outreach, or what we would call public relations or education, is a major use case for large displays. And so those could be at a conference, or it could be a fixed installation at a visitor center or something like that. Under visualization, we have a few project groups that have very large data sets, and then they need a large high-resolution display area to work with. Most of that, from what I've seen here at NASA, is connected with supercomputing facilities. So NASA Ames here in Mountain View has a large supercomputing facility, and so they are asked to work with large data sets, aerodynamics testing, and things like that. And often they will need a large display system to look at the data output from that. And the last is collaboration. NASA's travel budget has been shrinking just because of the federal budget here. And so there is a strong push to use remote collaboration systems as an alternative to travel whenever possible, just to save money. So that is another driver. And on the right-hand side, you have a column called Build Options. And those are just some technical options that we've laid out for NASA groups here that are interested in building their own large-scale displays. So we'll talk about those here in a little bit. Okay. And just so everyone on the call here knows, NASA is an enormous institution. There are probably 50,000 people working for NASA directly, and probably as many, again, in contracting relationships and so on. So NASA spends a lot of time coordinating its activities, and it's entirely possible for one group on the West Coast to not know what a different group on the East Coast is working on or doing. So we have spent a lot of time with our large displays group simply communicating what all of our research groups are working on. Okay, if we could go to the third slide, hardware technologies for TOB display walls. So I'm sure that James, Cicero, and everyone there has given you a lot of information about large-scale displays. Here at NASA, we have some groups that have a great deal of knowledge, some that are just getting started. And the first question we're looking at is, do we want to use LCDs or do we want to use projectors? And obviously there's some major trade-offs there. I would say almost all of the groups here at NASA are using LCDs. At the end of this talk, I'll share you a slide of a portable projector-based wall that is under consideration right now. If we go to the next slide, NASA stage walls used for, and then there are three small photos there. So again, multi-user analysis of big data sets, presentations and conferences, and quote, control room applications. So the mission control centers that help to coordinate the activities of satellite sensing instruments and manned missions are extremely conservative here at NASA and extremely security conscious, and that's just for safety reasons. And so our group has not had a lot of contact with actual mission support centers yet, but we hope to do that in the future, and we think it's a good fit because systems like SAGE let you work with several windows in a multi-user environment and also change the visual emphasis from one piece of information to another very quickly. So I think that's a good fit for a lot of groups here. Jane, just a quick audio and visual check.
Yeah, we can.
Can you see the slides?
Yeah, we can see the slides. Everything is okay. We can hear you pretty well.
Okay, great.
Fantastic, yeah.
All right, so let's go to the next slide. It should say at the bottom, NASA Goddard Space Flight Center Hyperwall.
Yeah,
Okay,
Goddard
great.
Center. Yeah.
So this is a typical use for outreach activities and large-scale displays. So the Goddard Space Flight Center, which is just north of Washington, D.C., goes to a lot of conferences, and they need a large surface to display the output of some of their research programs. So they have a 3x3 large display, and each of those 9 displays is run by one Mac Mini, and they're not using SAGE. They're using a piece of software that they've developed in-house called Hyperwall, and basically it will take a media file, it will cut it into 9 pieces and do some processing, and then there are RPC messages that are sent to each of the 9 Mac Minis to synchronize the playback. So that Hyperwall has been in use for several years now, and there's a link to more information about it at the end of these slides. Okay, if we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Just a little text description from their website on how they use it. So they use it to explain phenomena, ideas, examples of world change. It's a kind of gee whiz system that they use to engage the public and get them interested about the research that NASA is doing. Okay, if we can go to the next slide, NASA ARC Code TI Optic Portable. So this is a portable 2x4 wall that is based on the University of California, San Diego Optic Portable design. So it's got 2 modules. Each module has 4 screens that fold down into a road case for transport. So it provides a lot of display surface and is also portable for conventions and so on. So we have that wall right here at NASA Ames. If you go to the next slide, that is a view of the wall in our research lab here. So Jane and Cicero have both been in that room. And if you go to the next slide, you can see the rear view of that 2x4 portable Hyperwall.
Okay.
And any questions so far about the Ames wall or anything else?
Yeah. Any question? Not for now.
Okay, we'll have plenty of questions, time for questions afterwards. Okay, if you go to the next slide, that is a people picture. On the upper right is Michael Sims. He has worked with various Mars rover teams, and hopefully sometime in the near future we'll get him connected so he can talk about his experiences with those research teams and processing images from the rovers and so on. In the upper left, in the blue shirt, is Ratko Jagadic, who is one of the developers of SAGE. He lives here in Silicon Valley, and he's been collaborating with us to extend the SAGE feature set and also help us with some installations here. Next slide. That is a view of our 2x4 Optic Portable at a recent TEDx talk, and Michael Sims and Stell Dodson were showing some Mars rover imagery and talking about what NASA is up to on Mars. Okay, if you go to the next slide, it's titled NASA Ames Supercomputing Hyperwall 2. So the supercomputer facilities at NASA Ames generates a lot of data, and so they have made an enormous Hyperwall here that is used for VIPs who want to look at large data sets, and also researchers will go over to that building after their data sets have been crunched by the supercomputer, and they will look at it on this very large Hyperwall. Now this wall has been around for a long time, and you can see the bezels on the wall are quite large. So they've just taken a number of off-the-shelf typical computer displays, and they put them together in a very large wall. There's some specs on the wall in a slide here in 1 second. So if you go to the next slide, that's another view of the Hyperwall 2. Mm-hmm. And you go to the next slide, there's a bunch of text there. Mm-hmm. So it's an 8x16 Hyperwall, 23 feet wide by 10 feet high, and lots and lots of IT specs to geek out on there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go to the next slide titled MSFC/sport. Okay. So MSFC stands for Marshall Space Flight Center, and they are in Huntsville, Alabama. And the sport group is a weather research group at Marshall, and we recently installed a 2x4 wall that has now, I think, been expanded to a 3x4 wall, and they use that as a type of control center when a big hurricane is coming into the U.S. and they need to do real-time weather prediction and analysis. So they have a kind of war room here that the researchers can sit in and look at satellite imagery and so on. And this is a recent installation. We just got this operational about 6 months ago. And it's using SAGE on a single PC. And we were able to get this running on a single PC because we're using some of the newer video cards that have a lot of video outputs. So in this case, the image display was not processor intensive. It was mostly limited by the video card. So a single PC with a lot of video outputs was able to run this well. All right, next slide. This is a small hyperwall at the NASA Ames Lunar Science Institute, which is now called SSERVI, the Solar System Exploration and Research Virtual Institute. And this is a wall that's also based on Mac Minis. So there are 9 Mac Minis in that little black box on the lower right-hand corner of this image. And each one drives one of those displays. And Ratco helped us get Sage running on OS 10. So we're actually using Sage there with Macintosh computers. And the Lunar Science Institute uses this mostly for outreach. So they do a lot of event support here at Ames. And so dignitaries and VIPs will come to Survey, and they will see interesting videos or still images, and having a large-scale display to really zoom in and see details is useful for them. All right, the next slide there is a design that I've been working on here at Ames, and right now it's in the blueprint stage. We haven't actually procured any of the equipment yet, but this is to address the design challenge of having a large-scale display that is usable in a conference, but easily transported, say on an airplane or so on. It can be very expensive to rent all the LCDs for a Hyperwall at a conference. And